All right, guys, good morning or good afternoon. Today we're going to be going over topic 8.5, dividing polynomials by long division. And so just to jump right in here, this is somewhat related to factoring. So looking at the warm-up here, if we were to factor 2x cubed plus 8x squared minus 6x minus 24, as always, you want to start with that greatest common factor. The greatest common factor of this would be 2. And so if you divided 2 out, you would get x cubed plus 4x squared minus 3x minus 12. And then you would go on to use a grouping. So group this and group this. And you would factor out an x squared from this one and a negative 3 from this one. And so you would get that common factor of x plus 4. And so you just drop that guy down. We then take the leftovers, the x squared, the minus 3, and that gets us our other factor. And then we bring the 2 down. And if y'all remember classification, 2 has a degree of 0 because it does not have any x value at all. So we call that a constant factor. The x squared minus 3 has a highest degree of 2, so we call that a quadratic factor. And then x plus 4 is linear because it has a degree of 1. Okay. So before we jump too much into long division, let's just go over the basis of division and fractions. On the top of your fraction, this 38 here, that is what you call your dividend, all right? And then on the bottom, the denominator of your fraction is called the divisor, okay? And when you divide 38 by 7, you get what's called a quotient of 5. That is your answer. But then 38 over 7 does not divide perfectly into 5, so you have what's called a remainder. You have a remainder of 3. So we always write that as 3 over 7 because 7 was our divisor. So let's put this in the context of some long division. You may or may not remember this from Algebra 1, but we are going to go through the basic steps again. So we are going to divide 4,984 by 128. So this 4984, that would be our dividend, and the 128 would be our divisor if we were to put this in a fraction. So since 128 has 3 numbers, hundreds, tenths, and ones place, we are going to see what it divides into 498, all right, the first 3 numbers of our dividend. So I am going to pull up my calculator and see how close I can get to 498. So I'm going to try 128 times 3. So that gets us 384. 128 times 4 is too high. So I'm going to say it goes in 3 times, and that was 384. We are going to subtract that from 498. So we get 8 minus 4 is 4, 9 minus 8 is 1, 4 minus 3 is 1. And then we have this 4 hanging out over here. We are going to drop him down and get 1,144. And we're going to divide 128 into this guy. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I know that 128 times 10 will be too high, so I'm going to try times 9. And that is still a little too high, so we'll try 128 times 8. We get 1,024. So we're going to do, goes into it 8 times, and that was 1,024. So once again, we are going to subtract that. So 4 over 4 is 0. 4 minus 2 is 2, and 1 minus 0, 1, and then that is 0. So we would write this as, instead of 4,984 over 128, we can write this as 38 plus, and it's a remainder of 120 because this is what we got. And then remember, you always put it over your divisor, which is 128. We want to simplify this fraction, so I'm going to do 120 over 128. And it gets us that decimal, so I am going to hit math, convert it to the most simplified fraction, and we get 15 over 16. So this would be equal to 38 plus 15 over 16 is our remainder. So this is our quotient, and this is our remainder. So let's now put it in terms of polynomials. So the biggest thing, guys, is you want to make sure there are no gaps in the powers in the divisor or the dividend. And what I mean by that is you need to have them in order. You need to have an x squared, then an x, and then no x, all right? If there, say this 3x term didn't exist, you would need to do a plus 0x to make sure there are no gaps. We are good on gaps here, so I can go ahead and set it up, x plus 1. Then I have x squared plus 3x plus 5, okay? And so looking at x plus 1, we're going to see how many times this x can go into x squared. X can go into x squared x times, so I'm going to place that over my x column because this is the x squared column, this is the x column, and this is just my c value column. So x goes into x squared x times, so x times x gets you x squared, and then you have to do the 1 times x as well, so it's plus x. It's your term. And then we're going to take this whole thing and subtract it. So remember this negative sign. It's going to be x squared minus x, which is 0. And then 3x minus x, that gets you 2x. And then like we did on the last problem, we're going to drop down that 5. So 2x plus 5. X goes into 2x 2 times, so I'm going to write a plus 2 because it is a positive 2. You always have to put the sign. So x times 2 is 2x, and 1 times 2 is going to be plus 2. And then again, we subtract it. 2x minus 2x is 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. So we can rewrite this as x, oh, that's a big line, x plus 1, and then plus, it's a remainder of 3. Oh, shoot, excuse me, guys. It's an x plus 2. I was looking at the wrong side, so it's x plus 2, because that's what we got up here. And then plus 3 over our original divisor, which is x plus 1. Okay. Let's try another problem. Let's try one that looks a little bit more complicated. We have 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4, and I'm going to be dividing that by x minus 2. Again, you always double check for gaps. I don't see any. We have 3, 2, 1, 0, and then 1 and 0 for all of our powers. So let's go ahead and set it up. So we have x minus 2. And then underneath we have 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4. So again, we're going to focus on the first term here. So x will go into 6x cubed, 6x squared times, because 6x squared times x is 6x cubed. Remember, we're subtracting everything inside. So then we're going to do negative 2 times 6x squared. You get minus 12x squared. So we subtract, these two cancel out, we get 0. Negative 19x squared minus a negative 12x squared gets you negative 7x squared. We're going to bring down that plus 16x. Okay. Into negative 7x times, because negative 7x times x gets you that negative 7x squared, and then negative 2 times negative 7, that's plus 14x. So if we are to subtract that, negative 7x squared minus 7x squared is 0. 16x minus 14x is 2x. And then we bring down that negative 4. So again, x will go into 2x, a positive 2 times. We're going to write a positive 2. So 2 times x is 2x. And negative 2 times a positive 2 is negative 4. So when we subtract those, we are left with nothing. So we do not have a remainder on this. 6x cubed minus 19x squared plus 16x minus 4 divided by x over 2 gets you 6x squared minus 7x plus 2 exactly, with no remainder. So you don't always have a remainder. Just remember, if you do, you have to put it over your divisor. All right, remember, we need to make sure there are no gaps. But I see a gap here because we go from x to the 4th to x squared. So when we are writing out our division problem, we're going to have our x plus 3 because there's no gaps there. We're going to do x to the 4th. And then we have to do plus 0x cubed in order to fill that gap. And then do plus 3x squared plus x plus 4. All right. So looking, x will go into x to the 4th. X to the 3rd times, because x to the 3rd times x is x to the 4th, and then 3 times x cubed is 3x cubed times. And subtracting that, those cancel. That becomes negative 3x cubed because 0 minus 3 is negative 3, and then we bring down that 3x squared. X will go into negative 3x cubed. That is going to be minus 3x squared, because negative 3x squared times x is negative 3x cubed, and negative 3 times 3, that's going to be negative 9, and then x squared. Those guys cancel. 3 minus, remember this is subtracting, a negative 9, that's going to be 12x squared. We're going to bring down that x. X going into 12x squared, we're going to do plus 12x, because positive 12x times x is going to be that 12x squared we're looking for. And then 12x times 3 is going to be plus 36x. All right, and then subtracting that, those cancel. X, again, this is minus, so x minus 36x is going to be negative 35x. And bring down the 4. So x goes into negative, going into negative 35x, going to be minus 35, because negative 35 times x is negative 35x. And then go to our calculator, so we're going to have negative 35 times a positive 3, it's going to be minus 105. Those cancel, and then back to our calculators. We're going to have 4 minus negative 105. Gets us a positive 109. And that is our remainder. So our answer for x to the 4th plus 3x squared plus x plus 4 divided by x plus 3 is going to be x cubed minus 3x squared plus 12x minus 35 plus a remainder of 109. And remember, we put it over our divisor, so that's going to be over x plus 3. All right. So yeah, guys, sometimes these problems can get a bit long and messy. But again, just make sure you're looking at it one step at a time. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, have a great day.